Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving headfirst into a really chilling tale of superstition, fear, and honestly, a completely terrifying mystery. We're looking at the dark secret of Moloch. Let's unpack this horrifying story together and see exactly how an entire village got chained down by centuries-old delusions and, of course, one man's unimaginable greed.
Om Shar Jar Molakaya Namaha. Our story actually kicks off with this terrifying chant just echoing through the darkness. I mean, picture this, right? It's midnight. It is pitch black outside, except for this one fire smoldering right in the middle of these ancient temple ruins. Chanting those words is Agoram, who's the village's most revered high priest. And right in front of him sits this monstrous statue. It's got the head of a buffalo, the body of a man, and most horrifying of all, this blazing furnace built right into its belly.
Now, this was no ordinary ritual. We're talking about a midnight sacrifice in the ruins, specifically designed to awaken Moloch. So Agoram finishes his incantations, he tosses some ash into the fire, and then he throws an innocent newborn infant straight into the blazing belly of that statue. It's awful. And the exact moment the child falls into the furnace, the flames just completely surge. The statue's eyes start glowing with this piercing red light, and Agoram, he just bursts into this maniacal laughter, claiming he's finally awakened the deity Moloch. Seriously, this opening scene alone gives you a pretty good idea of the incredibly dark truth we're about to uncover. Section 1. Shadow of Superstition. So the next morning, news of this midnight sacrifice spreads through the village. And you'd probably think the people would be absolutely outraged, right? I know I would be. But they aren't. In fact, they actually breathe a sigh of relief. You see, the villagers were completely paralyzed by these deep-rooted fears. Their whole existence revolved around this core belief that if Moloch's demands weren't met every Amavasya, which is the new moon, the entire village would be struck by devastating drought and disease. They truly believed Agoram was their savior, that he was the guy promising them bountiful harvests in exchange for these gruesome offerings. And this brainwashing, it ran so deep that the village leaders actually forced helpless widowed mothers, like a woman named Sarla, to just give up their babies. They twisted the whole narrative. They claimed it wasn't a sacrifice, but a necessary offering to protect the tribe. It's a genuinely terrifying example of how absolute fear can just completely destroy human logic. Section 2. The official from the city. Now, right into this suffocating atmosphere of fear steps a much-needed rational force. Enter Rakesh. He's a government official who shows up at the village square with a branded suitcase, glasses, and a mind that is strictly focused on logic and data. Rakesh definitely wasn't here on vacation. He came from the district education department, and he was armed with one really startling piece of data. School attendance had plummeted from 75 kids down to just 19. When Rakesh confronted the nervous, sweating village sarpanch with these grim numbers, it became painfully obvious that something massive was being covered up. And this, naturally, leads Rakesh to ask the absolute critical, undeniable question. Where did the rest of the children go? This question is really the turning point of the whole story, because it's not just some mundane administrative inquiry, right? It's the very first knock of logic on the door of this terrifying secret. It directly connects the cold, hard data to the supernatural terror that's just lurking in the shadows of this village. Well, Rakesh finds his answer, but in pretty much the most disturbing way possible. He's walking past a deserted temple, and he spots a group of village kids making mud idols of that exact same buffalo-headed beast. They're playing this incredibly morbid sacrifice game. He literally overhears these innocent children just casually discussing how they need to sacrifice little Chotu on the next new moon. I mean, wow. It sends total shivers down Rakesh's spine, and honestly, it proved just how completely the entire village had been brainwashed. It was so bad that even the kids had normalized this deadly game. Section 3. Revelation of the dark truth. So there's a massive, sickening irony at play here. On one side, you have the villagers who wholeheartedly believed they were pleasing a deity to ensure prosperity, warding off disease and famine. But on the other side, Agoram was actually secretly worshipping a demon. He didn't care at all about the village's prosperity, not one bit. He was doing the whole thing solely to gain unimaginable dark powers, and ultimately, personal immortality. It all comes to a head on Rakesh's final, tension-filled night in the village. First, Rakesh is just jolted awake by this eerie, absolutely terrifying dream of the Moloch statue. He's gasping for air, he looks out from his roof, and he spots flames flickering over in the distant ruins. So wasting no time, he sprints into the darkness.
He sneaks up and hides right behind this broken wall. And there, standing before the glowing demonic idol, is Agaram. But here's the crazy part. Without even opening his eyes, the dark priest literally calls Rakesh out of hiding. It's the ultimate face-off now. Pure logic going up against absolute black magic.
During this incredibly tense confrontation, Agoram reveals his sinister motive with just one chilling phrase: "I will become immortal." He spills his horrific secret, straight up admitting that Moloch is no god at all. He's a demon of death. To conquer death itself and actually become immortal, Agoram says he only needs to sacrifice children for 7 more years. That's it. So yeah, he was never the village's protector. He was just a selfish, completely cold-blooded murderer the whole time. Section 4. The terrifying end of Agoram. Now, Agoram thought he held all the power here, but he severely underestimated Rakesh, because Rakesh, he hadn't come to the ruins alone. Here is exactly how the village rebellion unfolded. Step 1. Rakesh had actually secretly brought the village elders with him. They were right there in the shadows, and they heard Agoram's entire twisted confession. Step 2. They finally realized the horrific betrayal they've been suffering under for decades. And step 3, fueled by just unimaginable grief and rage, the villagers surged forward. And guess what? Agoram's dark magic couldn't save him from the sheer physical force of an entirely betrayed community. They grabbed the false priest and literally threw him directly into the blazing furnace of his own demonic statue. Talk about poetic justice, right? By the next morning, everything was bright and peaceful. With the dark truth finally out in the open and the evil destroyed, that heavy veil of fear just lifted. You had kids playing freely in the daylight, women were laughing, and the village genuinely felt alive again. Rakesh knew his mission was complete, so he boarded his bus back to the city. It really seemed like, at long last, logic and light had permanently defeated superstition. Section 5. The Return of Evil. But, well, you know how horror stories work. Evil rarely stays buried forever. Years later, on another pitch-black new moon night, the absolute unimaginable happens. Out in those exact same forgotten ruins, someone is digging. The buried idol of Moloch gets completely unearthed. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminates a face, and it's Agram's son. Using the very same dark rituals that were taught to him by his father, he resurrects Agram's dark soul right back into that stone idol of Moloch. So the beast wasn't just a piece of rock anymore. The monstrous priest had officially returned. And honestly, that leaves us with a deeply unsettling question. Will someone come again to avert the disaster? Or is history just completely doomed to repeat itself in this endless cycle of evil? I'm going to leave you with that terrifying thought. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. I really hope this chilling story made you think a little bit about just how deep the roots of fear and superstition can actually go. See you next time as we dive into another fascinating topic.